Hey, welcome back to my allotment. Today we're going to do something a little bit different, and it's a bit of a blast from the past. So in the week I went to visit BBC Gardener's World Live, which is a great big show full of inspiration, show gardens and lots of plants that you can buy. So it's a great place to take inspiration and do lots of shopping. And my very first video on this channel was a shopping haul video. Remember when they were such a big thing? And I don't know if people still watch haul videos. I know if somebody did with plants, I definitely watch it. And I put a poll on my Instagram page and you guys were kind of keen to see what I bought at the show. So in this video I'm going to reflect on what I got out of BBC Gardener's World Live this year, and I'll show you all the plants and things that I bought. And I've just noticed a rose in bloom over there and it's absolutely enormous and I really want to stick my nose in it. Ooh, but I can't get over there right now. So the show, well, if you've never been before, it's at the Birmingham NEC, it's enormous, and it's also partnered with the BBC Good Food show. So you can do the gardening bit and then you can do the food bit as well if you want to do even more shopping and things. So I went on the Thursday. It was probably one of the better days to go because it was warm and sunny, but it wasn't quite as hot as the Friday and it didn't chuck it down with rain like it did on the Saturday. So yeah, I had a great time. I started off in the plant village and then I went to the show gardens, and this year's show gardens were great, but I particularly love Frances Tophill's first ever show garden. And I think she's a wonderful person and I resonate with so many of her ideologies on gardening and gardening for the wildlife and creating habitats as well. So I was really keen to see her garden, and one of the great things was you could actually walk through it. And I also listened to her talk where she spoke about, you know, her upbringing and how she studied and, you know, just basically about her and also her garden. And yeah, I just absolutely loved it. It was a mishmash of loads of different plants, recycling, reusing, with really urban industrial look. I really love the industrial look of steel and metal against soft planting, so I really loved her design. And what did I take away from it? I really want one of those drain trains where instead of having a downpipe gutter, you use chains or some sort of linkage for the rain to go down. I thought that was really cool. I absolutely loved the rooftop garden that she planted on that structure, and also just the amount of recycling in there. I think I saw a cement mixer, which was really, really clever. And yeah, also she used loads of ponds to create one big pond. So like my Belfast sink, she had those, but loads of them, and it's a shame they're quite expensive to buy now because, you know, people are realising how cool they are and how good they are to repurpose. But yeah, absolutely brilliant show garden to walk around. And not far from the show gardens you actually have the show borders, which I really love because you can get some great planting design inspiration, and also it's a bit more of an amateur category, so anybody can apply to do one. And one of the gardens had a little area that was a bit of a bog garden, and that really inspired some of my purchases which we'll come on to shortly. Yeah, I had so much fun there, and it was just great to be back at a show because I hadn't been to one since before COVID, and it was just a nice hustle and bustle. There were so many people there and I came away with lots of goodies. So let's go take a look at some of them. Now, one of my first purchases of the day were these Pelargoniums, or you might call them geraniums, but botanically they are a Pelargonium. And I love my Pelargoniums. I had quite a collection over the years, and then I brought them all indoors in the winter time to overwinter them because they're not frost hardy. And some of them died, some of them didn't make it. And I also had a bit of an aphid infestation one year that wiped a lot of them out. And one that I was really upset to lose was my Pelargonium sidoides, which I bought, I think, from Sarah Raven originally. And it's got this silvery, crinkly round leaf with a really tiny purple flower, and I just had to replace it. So I've got my sidoides back again. So yeah, that's purchase number 1, but of course they had a multi-buy offer which I couldn't refuse, so I had to buy a few more. And rather than going for the colourful flowery ones, this time I've actually just gone for scented leaf varieties, because I don't know what it is about this year, but I'm really loving strong scents, and I'm not the sort of person to make a lot of herbal teas. I'd like to be into it, but I haven't really got into it yet, if you know what I mean. I tend to stick with my English breakfast. So my second one is Orange Fizz. Now there's another orange scented pelargonium that's called Prince of Orange, and they had that one there as well, and I asked the chap, you know, what's the main difference? I know that Prince of Orange is generally the more known variety. It was the one I was more familiar with, and I rubbed and sniffed both varieties, and I found that this one, Orange Fizz, was a lot stronger orange fragrance. So I went with this one, and that's what he basically confirmed when I asked him. And I just really love that citrusy smell. I think these leaves would be great infused into like a sangria or some cocktails or something like that. And maybe the flowers, if they taste like it as well, then that might be nice little touching finishes to some cakes. I don't know, but I love the smell, so I had to buy it. This next one I actually discovered from an allotment neighbour a few years ago, and it's another scented one. It's got a really tiny delicate leaf on it at the moment, and this one, it smells like pine, and I love the smell of pine. And this one is called Fragrans, scented leaf, pine scented, grey green foliage with delicate white flowers. Oh, and I've just found the nursery, Potash Nursery. Thank you very much. Yeah, again, just love the smell. And the last of my scented pelargoniums is this one, and it's called Attar of Roses, and that's another really popular one. That rose fragrance, oh, it's so lovely. And obviously these are really, really easy to propagate, so I'm going to enjoy, you know, maybe trying out a few recipes with these this year, some infusions. Let me know if you've got any good ideas on how to use them. Now, if you're familiar with The Handsome Gardener on Instagram, this is one of his favourite plants, and when I saw it I thought it was something else. I thought it was a type of almost like a maidenhair fern, and I wanted it to sort of create a under pot cover, what's the word? Like a low ground cover but in a pot. But it isn't what I thought it was, but I bought it anyway. I have two. This one is called Splendid White, and this one is called, oh, I've lost it. I don't know its name, but it's the same sort of plant in a mauvey pink colour. But yeah, it gives you height, it gives you grace, it flowers all summer into September, and this will have a really delicate little flower on it. Gosh, can you hear that wren? It's so loud. And I just really love the foliage. Like I said, it reminds me of the maidenhair fern, or even, you know, the ginkgo behind me. So, and also I think that matches really well with the pink. I'm not sure where it's going to go. My original thought was at the back of the wildlife corner, because I need a bit more height there. There's a great big gap, and I think it might go in there. There are a lot of people there that sell herbaceous perennials, so I was in heaven. And the first one I picked up, well, I saw a really dark plummy one on their display, and I was like, oh, have you got that? And they'd sold out. But the closest one was this other one called Plum Jerkum, and that's the picture, but it actually comes up a lot darker than that. And here's the plant. It's not flowering yet, but it will be. And I love Penstemons because they give you height in a border, they flower for such a long time, and they come in all kinds of colours and shapes and sizes as well, a bit like salvias. So that's that one. Now, they always say that a gardener shouldn't buy in 1s and 2s, that you should buy in 3s and 5s and 7s. So I've not got just one of these, I've got 3 of them, because I think they'll make a really good clump, or my actual plan is to put them in pots. Let me explain. This one is called love and wishes, and obviously the Penstemon is part of the sage family, so they've got this really cuboid sort of stem, very easy to take cuttings from. And oh, let me go back to this one because it's actually got a bit more flower on it. Ooh! So here's the picture of what they will look like, but you can see from the flower spike that even though not all the buds have come out on this, it's already got a really colourful purple spike of a flower, and I love that deep colour. And then you have the sort of magenta pink of the actual flower. And you know what? The pollinators absolutely love these, and once one flower spike has finished blooming, you can just snip it above a pair of leaves and then you'll get loads of side shoots, and this will keep branching out and creating lots and lots more flowers all summer long. And I love that vertical height because after the foxgloves and the lupins have gone, I really miss having a strong architectural upright flower, you know, like this. So this is going to be my replacement, and I've got loads of pots now to do something with, so I'm thinking of potting up lots of my Penstemons to give me even more instant height. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to watching these grow and bloom for me. What's next? Well, this time we're going to go back to geranium, but this time it's a real geranium and not a pelargonium. This one! And I love it because it's got purple markings on the leaves that match the really gorgeous purple flowers, and it'll bloom for quite a long time. You can then cut it all back and you should get another flush as well. So this will grow quite tall, about 75 centimetres, and again it will be great in the back of my wildlife corner where I'm currently planning everything to go, and they won't all fit, so be a bit of jiggling, but I've also got the pots to play with so they can go anywhere. But this will definitely go in the ground. Let's move on to some herbs next. Now these I actually picked up from the good food section of the show, where the wonderful urban herbs were exhibiting, and if you don't already follow them, check out their Instagram, go on their website, you can order their herbs direct. I've had some of theirs before, my trailing rosemary was from them, and probably many others. They've got some really wacky varieties of mint and oregano, and I love them. So great company to go and support, so please do. This one is really interesting because it smells like Coca-Cola. It's amazing. It just smells just like cola, and it's so bizarre. It's got gorgeous foliage. You know how I love my ferny, silvery foliages. So that's the main reason why I bought it. It smells incredible. It's going to be great in drinks, summer barbecues. It's going to be great. I also picked up one of the tree spinaches, not just because I don't have much spinach on the go at the minute, but because it looks amazing. This one I think is known to be a little bit of a self-seeder, which I don't mind. You know, if you don't want it, just take it out. And what does it say about it? It grows up to 2 meters tall, cook mature leaves like spinach. It's a hardy annual, and it will grow to about 1.5 meters. And now I've also got, oh yeah, I picked this up from them a few years ago, and it can be a bit tender, so you should protect it from really hard frosts. One year it survived, the next year it didn't. I should have taken cuttings and I didn't. So I've got a replacement, and it's called Vietnamese coriander. Amazing foliage again, and it's got a bit of a citrusy kind of flavour, this one. So I imagine it's going to be great in stir fries and salads, that kind of thing. Let me try a leaf. Quite strong, but really nice. And lastly, Andy at Urban Herbs very kindly threw in some Samphia for me, which I've never grown, and it's one that likes salt water. So he suggested putting it in a bath of salted water. So this one's going to be great with meals that include fish. Really interested to try it, never grown it before, so thank you very much, Andy. We're getting there, there's only a few more to go, and this next one's a little bit spiky, so need to be careful. I've wanted one of these for a little while, just because I want to see if I can grow it and harvest from it. And unfortunately there weren't many edibles. Obviously I have my herbs, But I mean, in previous years, I'm sure they had actual, grow your own stands where you could buy small pumpkin plants. But this year there wasn't very much of that, mostly sort of herbs really. But over at, I believe they're called Jurassic Plants, I love their stand. You can get some really, really unusual plants there. I got a Szechuan pepper, and I'm going to have to put the variety name in the little box just there because I can't remember it and it's not got a label on it. But apparently I'll get some amazing autumn colour from this. It's got spikes on it, which will be quite hazardous. But this variety won't get too big. I think it stops at about 1 to 2 metres. I'm thinking of putting it in a pot, so I've got a gooseberry in a pot over there that I'm not interested anymore, so I might give that to somebody and replace it with this. So if I can grow my own spices, grind up all the husks. Apparently it's not actually the seed that you eat, it's the husk of the seed on this. So yeah, I've got a Szechuan pepper. Do let me know if you grow this and how well it does. If you've got any tips, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Now, the last few are for a very special project that I'm thinking of doing. Well, I have to do it now because I've bought them. But when I was walking around the show, there were so many features with water, and there was a few bog gardens, and also there were a few stalls that sold carnivorous plants. Now, if you've been following this channel for a little while, you might remember Judith. Remember Judith? Judith Hindle. She is a variety of Sarracenia, and that is also known as the pitcher plant. And I found a stall that had them, and I thought, oh gosh, do I replace Judith? Will I kill it again? I kept it for about, I think, 2 years. It survives our winters absolutely fine. And then I think I went away or something, and it dried out and it died. Obviously it's a bog plant, it needs to be kept permanently wet. So I was umming and ahhing whether or not to replace it, and well, here she is from beyond the grave. Sarracenia Judith Hindle has risen again. Mark II. Maybe I should call her Jude instead, because I just found it so fascinating to grow, and I really want to try having a little bit of a bog garden. So basically I have a water tank which I did grow some bananas and cannas in one year. I took the plants out to overwinter at home, and then subsequently it was left over the winter outside. The hole got clogged up in the bottom, and then it created basically a big pond. There's about this much soil at the bottom and then that much water on the top that's just sat there now. So I was like, oh well, I've just created a little pond. So my plan is to create a pond / bog garden. I've got an idea on how to keep this one happy, because it doesn't want to be sat in water that's too deep. It doesn't want its crown below the water line, if you see what I mean. But I'll perhaps do a separate video on that and show you some of the other plants that are going to go with it. And I've got to give a special thank you to the lady, sorry I didn't catch her name, at Lincolnshire Pond Plants, because she was incredibly helpful, and I explained my project, which I thought of whilst I was at the show, and she gave me all the best advice on what I should be planting and how deep and what to go with it. So thank you very much. And by the way, I've not been sponsored or endorsed or anything by any of these companies. They all work incredibly hard for what they do, and I know that to put on a stall at the show probably costs them a lot of money, and I just think we should all support independent nurseries where we can. And I'm giving them a shout out, because if you can support them, if you're planning a pond project or you need some herbs, go check out these people, because they invest so much of their love and time into their businesses, and they rely on us to pay their bills and feed them at the end of the day. So yeah, thank you to the lady at Lincolnshire Pond Plants. So this one I loved because it reminds me of, oh gosh, I don't remember the name now, but it's part of the mare's tail family, but it's a pond plant, and it grows these really long, thin, tube-like reeds. It's really odd, with purpley black stripes going up it, and it's one of those plants that were the first plants here on the world, and it's just so weird, and I loved it. But she says, oh, that will get quite big quite quickly. Obviously it's part of the mare's tail family, it's going to spread. So I got this as an alternative because it looks quite similar. I don't know if you can tell, it's got these little markings going along it. Height 15 centimetres, spread 45, position full sun to part shade, flowers June to August. It's going to give me texture, movement, and a nice touchiness. The next one is an oxygenator because my little pond is going to need some oxygen, and it's part of the clover family. This is not a real clover, it is an underwater fern. Interesting. 4-leaf clover leaves rise to the water surface, creating a decorative pattern. So yes, it's like a clover. It also had a white variegated one, but we decided we were going to stick to the green theme. It's called Marsilia quadrifolia. So this will help pump oxygen into the water of the pond and create a nice sort of mat across the surface and fill out underneath, so you can't see into the pond too much. And for the one that actually brought me over to their display to begin with was this one, because it reminds me of some of the houseplants you get, like the Philodendrons. Love it. It's got some height to it, and it also flowers. So this one's called Sagittaria sagittiflora. Sorry, I'm probably messing all these names up. Very attractive with arrow-shaped leaves producing white flowers borne on 3 angle stems in whorls of 3 with a purple blotch at the base. Height 1 metre, spread 1 metre. So yes, these are marginal plants. So they're happy at the side of a pond, which is why I'm going to make sure my water depth isn't too deep. And I've got a special plan in mind for the Judith so that she doesn't drown. So more on that, hopefully, on another day, on another separate pond video. And that was it for the plants that I bought. But I did mooch over to the Good Food show and hunted down a stand that specialises in hot sauces, because I love my hot sauces. And so I went and visited Spicy Rise, and they let me try out some of their hot sauces. And you know, they've got a good story behind them as well, because originally he was growing chilies on his allotment and he made a few sauces up, and now here he is with a whole range of sauces, nicely bottled and branded. So yeah, and I'm not quite sure what I was thinking, but you know how I'm now growing a super hot chilli? Did I tell you about my ghost chilli? Well, I thought I'd better get some experience in tasting the ghost chilli so that I'm prepared when it comes to harvesting and cooking my own. So I bought their ghost pepper sauce, which is extra hot, tastes really fresh. And one thing that I really loved is that, you know, they've got all the ingredients there on the back. Ghost pepper and Scotch bonnet mash is the first ingredient, which means there's a lot of it in there. Tomato puree, molasses, sugar, raw organic apple cider vinegar, bit of mustard, onions. It was really tasty and had a lot of flavour and freshness, which I loved. So and it packs a really fiery punch, so thank you very much. And I've also got some of their habanero chili jam. I love a chili jam because they're just so versatile. You can put it on anything. Maybe not your morning toast, but you know, inside a sandwich with lots of like halloumi or like a bacon and brie. Oh, so good. Bit of this, amazing. Or even on cheese and crackers, like it says, or in toasties. Yeah, on a toasty. So thank you very much, Spicy Rise. Go check out what they do. That's all the stuff that I bought at the show. So yeah, I've got a lot of plants now to play with and find room for. But I think my Penstemons, a lot of these will definitely go into pots, as well as my small Pelargoniums. They'll be in small pots where I can touch and sniff them and harvest a few leaves. Yeah, I had a great time at the show, and it was also so lovely to meet a couple of you there. Thank you so much for coming up to me and saying hello. I know some of you are really shy and you didn't want to, so your partner did instead. That's all for now. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.